right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, March 16th Board of Selectmen meeting for the town of Hamilton. We will start off with our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Let's see. We've got a full agenda for anyone who's watching at home or paying attention. We have 4 of our Board of Selectmen tonight are on the phone, remotely participating in the meeting tonight. And because of that, if we are to have any votes, any of the votes will be roll call. I'll start off with the announcements and board openings. Board and committee openings. There's Council on Aging opening. Hamilton Historic District Commission opening,
I'm going to go take a break.
Open Space Committee opening, Essex North Shore Agricultural and Technical School Committee vacancy opening. And this is an appointment by the moderator, actually. Now we have on the agenda time for 3 minutes for anybody in the public that would like to speak. Seeing no one here, we'll move forward.
So perhaps, Mr. Chairman, it'd be a good time to mention that this meeting is, in addition to being broadcast live by HWCAM, is also being streamed live on YouTube. Folks at home who would like to participate in the meeting are encouraged to log on to YouTube on your computer, watch the meeting there, and if you have any comments or would like to ask a question, there's a comment box on the YouTube screen. You can submit it, and Michelle will be able to let us know that you're interested in participating in the meeting.
Perfect. Okay, Selectmen Town Manager's Report. I don't have anything, given that our full agenda and what we've got on our plates. Does anybody, Selectmen-wise, do you have anything that you'd like to add tonight in terms of a report?
Not from.
This is Bill. I have only one thing that as part of the screening committee for the Hamilton Wenham superintendent search through the as set up by the school committee. We last Wednesday we had 3 finalists. We recommended to the school committee for them to go to the next step of interviews. I'm not sure how things in the world will change that process right now, but currently we gave them 3 finalists to interview over the next few weeks to make a decision by the end of the month for a superintendent candidate. So we have completed our charge, and we look forward to the school committee taking that baton and running with it.
That's great. Thanks for doing that, Bill. Were they strong candidates? Were you impressed with all 3?
Yeah, we had a unanimous recommendation of the screening committee to put all 3 candidates forward to the school committee. So it was a unanimous decision on the 3 candidates.
Good. Great. That's good to hear. Thanks, Bill. Sean, do you have anything?
No, I don't have anything tonight, Jeff.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Darcy? Is Darcy there? How about Rosemary?
I do not have anything at this moment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Let's look to we'll move on to the consent agenda then. There are a few items on here. Approve appointment of the Hamilton Development Corporation board members. Approve minutes of the January 27th, 2020 Board of Selectmen meeting. Approve minutes of the February 3rd, 2020 joint BOS and FinCom meeting. Approve use of grounds for the Hamilton Wenham annual plant sale May 16th, 2020. And approve the Little League request of opening day parade route on May 2nd, 2020. Unless anybody would like to hold any of those items, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda for March 16th.
Thanks, Rosie.
Roll call vote.
Second? All right, thank you. All right, a roll call vote. Bill?
Hello? Bill?
Sorry, I was
Darcy Dale.
William Olson, aye.
All right, Sean?
Sean Farrell, aye, and I second it just for the minute.
Thank you. Darcy?
Darcy Dale, aye.
Thank you, Darcy. Rosemary?
Rosemary Kennedy, aye.
Okay, Jeff Hubbard, aye. Thank you all. Okay, on to the agenda. We have an update tonight from the Board of Health Chair, David Smith, on the community COVID-19 response. Thanks for coming in, David.
Thank you, Jeff. This will be a brief status report on a complicated and rapidly changing situation.
Jeff can't hear.
I can't hear either.
Yeah, I think just for that speaker, you have to just speak louder if you can.
Oh,
What if he uses that microphone over there?
No, it's going to be because he's talking over there on the opposite side of the speaker. Now, let me see if I can turn this around.
should I
We got everybody on board now, so we can speak to this. Okay, try this. Yeah. Try that.
come up here?
Use that speaker. You can use that microphone and he's got the phone.
Oh, okay. All right. Just speak into the phone there, David. That's fine. Come on. Okay.
Tell me if this is better.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, this is
Much
going to
better.
This will be a brief status report on a complicated and rapidly changing situation. So, does everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. A few facts first from the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, on whom we're relying for a great deal. As of today, the state has tested somewhere between 1,100 and 1,300 people. Let's call it an average of 1,200. Of those, 180 have tested positive. That's about 15% of the number tested. That number tested is going to be rising rapidly this week because of all of the new testing capacity that is coming online. As of today, in quarantine, there have been 1,100 individuals, of whom 650 have been cleared, meaning that they've passed the 14-day period without symptoms, and 450 are still in quarantine. I want to mention that we have participated in weekly conference calls with the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, which have been very valuable in helping us understand what's going on. The next one is scheduled for tomorrow, and things have been changing so rapidly that from one week to the next, things that may have been or seemed true last week perhaps are going to be corrected this week. I'll give you one example. I've been tracking the guidance of CDC and the Mass DPH on the size of gatherings to which we should limit ourselves. It started out, I think it was last month, around 500. Then it dropped to 250. Then it dropped to 50. Then it dropped to 25. And in the President's press conference briefing this afternoon, the number has been dropped to 10. That's 10 people. That's the largest size gathering that we have been advised to limit ourselves to. That's quite a shrinkage in the size. Here in town, we've been very active in trying to get everyone involved in this, get input, participation, and so on. I've met with a lot of people in the last week or two, including the Council on Aging, Ray Burnett insofar as our EMS and first responders are concerned, with Joe here at Town Hall, and we've been working cooperatively with the town of Wenham, which I think is important because we share a common school district, and we really have to work cooperatively to be sure that we are covering the geography of the school district with one voice. And so that's been going well. We've had joint meetings with the school district administration and superintendent and a lot of the supporting staff, and those meetings have gone well, and we've issued, for example, on the town website, a joint communique about that meeting. We have been periodically issuing guidance to residents on how things are going. For example, the superintendent has been posting on the school website updates and guidance. We've been posting on the town website updates and guidance. I shared on Facebook the Hamilton Wyndham Residents Only website, what's going on. So we're trying to communicate. I've gotten good feedback on that, in fact. Insofar as the schools are concerned, I thought we were a little ahead of the curve in that we decided last Thursday to close the Hamilton Wyndham Regional School District as of the next day, Friday, and others fell in line over the next few days. I've been meeting with the administration up at the Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary on what they're doing and sharing that with our public health nurse and our health agent and our board, and they're satisfied with what's going on up there with what the school, what the seminary is doing to protect themselves and us. I want to share with you something I just learned today, and that is the state maintains a database in which is entered any instance where someone tests positive for COVID-19. And so far, for example, in Essex County, as of 5 o'clock this afternoon, 8 individuals in Essex County have tested positive. At this moment in time...
David, did you say 8 or 80?
8. Not 80, it's 8. Single digit, Darcy. Good question. Yes, the number is 8. That's up from 6 a couple of days ago. That's up from 1 earlier last week. So the number's rising rapidly. But the process is that if and when, and I should say it's really when, not if, a resident of a town tests positive, then immediately that goes into a confidential database, and the town's public health nurse is immediately notified. And then it's up to the public health nurse what to do with that information. And so as of today, our public health nurse will share with me, the town manager, and our health agent the fact that someone has tested positive.
When that happens. Hasn't happened.
That's when that happens. Likewise in Wenham, the same arrangement, and we're going to share that information so that as soon as either Wenham or Hamilton finds that someone's tested positive, then we will notify the town, and we've been working on a draft of an announcement to that effect in anticipation of it happening.
Now, important to note that nobody is identified in these types of situations. There's HIPAA laws, privacy laws. The patient's identity is protected, but we do want folks to be aware if a case becomes evident here in Hamilton, we'll let people know.
And I think that's important because we want to be able to use that opportunity to remind people of all of the personal hygiene practices that they should be following, of the social distancing practices they should be following. And as I said, that number for social distancing has been progressively declining to the point where now it's gatherings of no more than 10 people are what we should be concerned about. So that's a little summary of where we stand at the moment. And again, this is a situation that's changing day by day. So whatever I say today is subject to change tomorrow. I want to share just a couple of anecdotes. I've had conversations with my neighbors, for example, recently, and they've asked about the school closings. Well, originally it was 2 weeks, and then it was 3. And someone said, did you say 2 weeks? Or did you? And I said, well, actually, I think it's going to be at least 2 months and probably more. And I think anybody that I've said that to has really been taken aback. So, and we got a hint that that's probably going to be the case again in this news conference this afternoon. I think we have to start thinking about the fact that this is going to drag on, which leads me to my final point. My concern lies in the fact that I think the public health community, the epidemiologists, the scientists, the experts, DPH, CDC, are going to be subject to intense pressure and increasingly intense pressure to lift these closings and bans. But I think we have to be cautious about that just because by thinking we have won the battle too soon and then relaxing all these constraints, we may suddenly find we made a terrible mistake and we relapse back to where we were. And that would be a tragedy if that happened. So that's my report. Questions?
David, are you hearing from the state every day, multiple times?
The state updates all its information every day. Generally, it's around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's when we get the reports. And I've been following them daily.
Okay.
But what they've been doing is having a live 1-hour conference call for all of the boards of health in the Commonwealth to help inform them, educate them, and answer the myriad of questions. And all of us on our Hamilton Board of Health and staff have found these conference calls extremely valuable in helping us understand what's going on, how to interpret a lot of the guidance that's been promulgated and posted on their website, and just answer a lot of questions that collectively we have, and that's the best way to get informed. So I'm very pleased that they're doing this, and they're doing a good job of it.
Thank you, David.
Okay. Anything else?
David, for residents in town, if they want information, where should they go?
Two sites. Number one, the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. As soon as you click on that, the first thing you see is a big banner. Click on this to learn more about COVID-19. And then there's a complete menu that'll answer just about any question you could have. And you go then to the CDC website, and it's basically the same. They will give you all of their guidance. And the Massachusetts Department of Health, the public health, depends heavily on the CDC for policies, procedures, guide, and all of that. So that's how things work. It starts at CDC headquarters in Atlanta, and then it comes down to the state departments of public health, and then it comes down to our boards of health.
Okay. Now, our website is updated.
As often as we feel we've got something to say.
Great.
Yeah.
1 second, Michelle, are any of those people looking to comment have anything to do with this?
No, 7 people viewing, no comments.
7 people viewing, no comment so far, so. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, David.
David, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
Okay. All right, back to the agenda. A little business here. Approve shared human resources intermunicipal agreement. Discuss and vote.
So, you've had a chance to look at this. The last time we had this IMA in front of you, you asked for a couple of changes. We've made those. I run the changes by the other two communities, Manchester and Rockport, and they're both fine with the changes. They're planning votes for their boards of selectmen as well. And given the decision, I know I informed you all by email, but I will, I'll say publicly that the 3 towns have agreed on a person to fill that role. It's Michelle Lee Carroll, who has been working in my office since July. She has a background in human resources. The screening committee vetted 5 candidates, gave us 2 very well-qualified candidates, and the 3 town managers and administrators unanimously agreed to offer the position to Michelle.
It's fantastic.
So we
Congratulations.
need you guys to take a final vote on approving the IMA, and at some point, we'll have a signature folder in the town manager's office so that you can stop in during the week and sign the IMA so that I can get it out to the other towns to have them signed so that it can actually be official, because I can't start paying her until we're all in agreement on this. So
Okay.
if you have any questions or there's anything else you want to bring up, please let me know as soon as possible.
And when would the start
Joe?
date be?
Partly the start, yes, I'm sorry?
Hi, it's Rosie. Question, when would Michelle start?
Yeah, so the start date would be somewhat based on when we can, we did agree to give me a chance to find a replacement for Michelle in my office, and Michelle has agreed to help in that transition, since that'll actually be her new job. So we're hoping to,
Yeah,
we're hoping.
there is no replacement for Michelle, is what I want.
That's true.
Fair enough, that's fair enough. That's fair enough, thankfully, she's already signed her offer sheet, so she can't use your comments against me in a negotiation. No, we're gonna be advertising this as soon as possible and then trying to find somebody to fill the role, if not her shoes. And then we'll transition to having Michelle work for the 3 towns, so.
Okay, so is it official now? She has signed
She signed the offer letter.
The agreement?
She signed the offer letter. The only way I can go back on it is if you guys don't sign this agreement today.
Okay, then may I be the first to say very publicly, I am so thrilled. I think she's a wonderful, wonderful candidate, and she'll do a wonderful job, and I'm so happy for her and so happy for our town. So congratulations to you, Michelle, and well deserved.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Michelle.
Thank you.
That's excellent. That's great news. It's great to see growth from within too, so that's fantastic. All right, so we need to vote on this, I guess. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Somebody wants.
Yeah, go ahead, repeat that.
This is Sean. I move to approve the Shared Human Resources IMA on March 16th.
I second. Rosie?
Great, okay. How about a roll call vote? Bill?
William Olson, aye.
Sean?
Sean Farrell, aye.
Darcy?
Darcy Dale, aye.
Rosie?
Rosemary Kennedy, aye.
And Jeff Hubbard, aye. Great. Well, congratulations again. We'll miss you.
Okay.
Okay, the next up is approved shared fueling intermunicipal agreement.
This one's not
Sorry,
quite,
Jeff, what was that?
To approve,
I'm sorry, Jeff.
to approve the shared fueling IMA.
can you hear us, Rosie?
Just broke up for a few words. Approved, shared something.
Fueling.
So this is the, we've talked about having an agreement to share the fueling station at the town of Wenham fueling station so that we could
yeah.
test pilot this. And this,
Now I heard you.
yeah,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Yeah, the agreement was drafted back in January. We brought it before you. We've had a couple minor changes based on feedback from staff. So we're looking to be able to get the pilot started hopefully as soon as we can, close to the new fiscal year, because we'd like some time to assess it to make sure it's going to work before we decide to jump in on doing it permanently. So, some.
Right, okay. This is a pilot.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, just a lot of artifacts in the background.
Yep.
Okay, yes, of course, that's, okay. I've heard everything now, thank you.
All right. Any other questions about this? Would somebody like
How
to?
long will the pilot be for? I'm sorry? How long is the pilot for? Is it 6 months?
I think we have it in there for a year, but the assumption is that we may be, within the year, be making the plans to go to do this permanently, unless something jumps up at us that
Okay.
makes it seem like it's not going to work. So,
Okay.
So, this is Darcy.
Yeah, go ahead, Darcy.
Jill, can you hear me?
yep. Yep, I
Okay,
can.
this is Darcy. I was wondering, oh gosh, I forgot. No, wait a minute. When are we going to get the oil or the gas tank out of the ground in the back of Town Hall? Is this related?
Yes, I can't take that out until I stop using it. Yeah, I can't take that out till we stop using it. So we have to have, this is a pilot period, and if it's working, then we'll make a plan for a permanent sharing of the fueling station and work to update or improve Wenham's fueling location for both towns in the future. And then we can take the fuel tank out of the ground, but we can't do that until we know that a shared arrangement will work.
Right. And is there any gas in the tank right now?
Well, yes, it's being used. It still fuels our vehicles every day. So it's still got,
Okay.
it's still got fuel in it right now. Yep,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
Hey, Joe, just a kind of a clarification. The pilot's for a year, and I believe it said we can terminate at any time.
Yep. Yep, if it's
right,
not,
in that year if
yep.
we decide so.
if we decide it's not working, absolutely.
And then our tank, at whatever capacity it's full at now, will we just run it down in our yard and then
Yes.
move over to Wenham once ours runs out, I assume?
Yes, yep. Any fuel that we bought and that we have in the tank, we'll use before we start using Wenham's site.
Okay, perfect. I'll make a motion to approve the shared fueling intermunicipal agreement.
Second, Rosie.
Okay. Roll call. Bill, do you want to start?
William Olson, aye.
Sean?
Sean Farrell, aye.
Darcy?
Darcy Dale, aye.
Rosie?
Rosemary Kennedy, aye.
And Jeff Hubbard, aye.
Thank you all. This is very much appreciated.
All right. Next up is approve another intermunicipal agreement with the Regional Veteran Services.
So this is the last and most recent one, and hopefully the last one we'll be doing for a little while. I like working with our partner communities, but this has created a lot of work for us. We are proposing, and I believe we updated you at the most recent meeting, that the city of Gloucester has agreed to accept Hamilton into their regional district with Manchester and Rockport, and those communities have also agreed to accept us into their regional district. We'd be continuing to get veteran service officer services from another community, but in this case, we'd be getting the services of Adam Kakura, who's considered one of the better VSOs in the state, and at a much more budget-friendly number. We were planning to spend $39,000 that we were budgeting for VSO services in FY '21. Under this IMA, those services would only cost us $15,000.
That's great.
So that's a good cost savings for us, and it's no loss in service for our veterans. As I think I told you at the last meeting, I did have a conversation with representatives of the post here in town, talked to the Legion guys, and they did not have an issue with it. I've been upfront with the Eastern Essex Regional Vets Organization, letting them know we were exploring this. And the town manager in Ipswich, which is the host agency for that outfit, is aware of this. But out of courtesy to him, I'd like us to make a vote as soon as possible so they can finalize their budget, because us leaving will create a need for them to make some changes in their district, and I don't want to leave them short before the end of the year, so.
Yeah. Good.
May I make a motion?
Absolutely.
Okay, this is Darcy Dale, and I make a motion to approve the Regional Veterans Services IMA.
Second, okay. All those in favor, you want to start off with Bill?
William Olson, aye.
Sean?
Sean Farrell, aye.
Darcy?
Darcy Dale, aye.
Rosie?
Rosemary Kennedy, aye.
And Jeff Hubbard, aye. That's great.
Thank you, guys, I appreciate it. I'll inform Eastern Essex Vets tomorrow.
Okay, approve water abatements.
Yeah, you should have had in your packets two water abatements. One is for 49 Chestnut Street, and the abatement is we'll take,
something?
yeah,
Leaky toilet?
yeah, it's a leaky toilet, so, the total original bill was $1,279, the revised bill would be $622. This was reviewed by Public Works Director Olson and submitted for your consideration. This was the cause of use was it's tied to an upstairs toilet found to be running constantly. I guess it wasn't normally used. It was shut off, and the plumber will be fixing it. They did recheck the usage numbers after the toilet was shut off, and the billing returned to its previous levels. So.
Yeah, I mean, so this is Bill. I care passionate about this stuff. So, I mean, it seems like everything's in order in terms of the abatement. The terminology leaky toilet is
probably not a great term because this wasn't just a leaky toilet. This was like a full running. I mean, 108,000 gallons. This is usually a leaky toilet is about 10 or 20,000 gallons a month. This was a constant running. So, I mean, we need to have our toilets paying attention. Our systems need to pay attention when toilets are running all the time. 108,000 gallons of water goes down the drain. But I think he paid everything in advance, and he did the right. So he did the right thing. So I have no problem approving you for the one-time abatement. But I just, this was a lot more than typical. 108,000 gallons is a lot to go down a leaky toilet.
That's pretty. I agree. That's excessive.
But he did pay it up front and to keep in good standing, so it wasn't like it's been sitting in an open account. So I do appreciate that. Well, I know Tim's been working on it in the background, looks like, over the past year and a half, sort of trying to get this resolved.
Yeah, this was a home that was in a trust as well, so I'm not really sure how much the family knew what was going on during the billing period. That was
Right, okay.
probably contributed to.
Right, so that would change the situation.
Okay,
Want a motion on that? Or you want to take
Yeah.
them together, or you want to do them separately?
I'm fine doing them together if everybody else is.
All right, so the second
We're
one,
fine doing it together. It looks like everything's in line.
Yeah,
So.
okay, the second one was for 17 Postgate Road, same thing, leaky toilet, so. But more on the order of what Bill talked about, normal leaky toilet usage, 20,000 gallons instead of 100.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion? Would somebody
I'll
like to make?
motion that we approve the water abatement for both number 49 Chestnut Street and number 17 Postgate Road.
I second that.
Excellent. Okay, roll call vote. Bill?
William Olson, aye.
Sean?
Sean Farrell, aye.
Darcy?
Darcy Dale, aye.
Rosie?
Rosemary Kennedy, aye.
All right, Jeff Hubbard, aye.
So Joe, the only thing to note on that is on the water abatement application for 49 Chestnut Street, it has an original bill date of 11/1/18 and then a revised bill date of 11/1/19. I think the dates need to be both 11/1/18, but you can look at that with Tim. I think it's just the wrong date there on the
Okay.
But and then I just have a curiosity moving forward. There's nothing in our bylaw that gives a limitation. It just says once every 10 years. It doesn't say how many years they can wait to. I mean, this is from 2018, so I know Tim's been working on it. But is there any limitation, or they can do it once every 10 years? How far back can they go to do an abatement?
I think that you just answered the question, that right now, there's nothing in the bylaw that limits how far back they can go. If you wanted to recommend that we look at making some kind of an amendment to the bylaw, we'd be happy to do that.
I'm just curious. I mean, we've tend to approve a lot more of these recently than we have in the past. I'm just
Yep.
wondering. It would be interesting to see. If Tim, I don't want to waste Tim's time, but if you could just do a quick summary of, year by year, last 5 years, our abatements have been a couple $100. This year, I think it's been a couple $1,000. So I'm just curious to see if it's a growing problem or not.
Okay, I'll ask him to take a look at a recent trend in a water abatement request versus past, and I will ask him to do that without considering the Grove abatement. I think that's an outlier. I don't want to compare this year's abatement costs to previous years when they didn't have that very large usage like we had with the Grove earlier this summer, so. But I'll ask him to look at that.
That's something, I mean, we're having the water, and every water bill's going up anyway, so it'd just be good to see if it's a trend
Yep.
we need to plan for, so.
Okay,
Great. All right, thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Joe.
thank you.
Okay, and then finally tonight, discussion about postponing the annual town meeting.
To help the conversation, both the town moderator, Bill Bowler, is in attendance, and town council, Tom McEnany. Originally, when we started talking about this late last week, after the first agenda was posted for this meeting, we were in the belief that we were going to be having to use, and Tom will correct me if I get the citation wrong, Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 10A, which would have made this a town moderator decision. However, due to our town bylaws and the fact that we haven't posted the warrant yet, which we only do 14 days prior to town meeting, it is still the Board of Selectmen's warrant. So it is the Board of Selectmen's decision to determine how to postpone. That would give you a little bit more leeway. It would be Chapter 39, Section 9 instead of 10A. And under 10A, the moderator can only move it a maximum of 30 days, but under Section 9, the Board of Selectmen is allowed to move it as long as you have to, as long as you get the votes done before June 30th, because we have to pass the budget before the new fiscal year. So we feel like the Chapter 39, Section 9 allowance is the better use right now, because it gives you a little bit more freedom. You don't have to declare the date certain that you want to postpone to.
Right.
The situation with the coronavirus is very fluid, and we want to be sure that we're not calling a meeting that we're then going to have to postpone again.
Right.
Tied to that is in our bylaws that the town elections are to take place the Thursday following the annual town meeting. And since we're moving town meeting, we will, in essence, be moving the town elections as well. So Tom is here to answer questions. That's the basic, that was the shorthand version. Tom has all the details. I'm sorry, Darcy.
Oh, I was just going to say, what will happen if we are not able to have a meeting before June 30th? What will happen?
So this is Tom McEnany from KP Law. So it's an interesting question and one that has not been answered yet. Obviously, as the situation continues to unfold, we'll see how long we're in this kind of a pause period before kind of business as usual starts to resume. So one of the things that has been suggested, and it probably would be the likely result, would be that you'd probably go to what's called a 1/12 budget, which is similar to what happens to cities if they don't have a budget in place, and to regional school districts as well. So basically what would happen would be that until you had a town meeting to establish your new the budget for the ensuing fiscal year, you would be operating essentially on a budget that's on a month-to-month basis equal to 1/12 of what your budget was from this current fiscal year.
Okay,
So that doesn't sound awful. That sounds pretty doable. So I have a question, Rosie. Can we just make a plan to relook at this in 30 days or something? Is that what you would suggest, Tom?
Certainly, you could do that. The board could decide to set, if you wanted to set the annual town meeting date now, further out in advance, obviously with the ability to come back in the future should circumstances change. You certainly can hold off as well.
Yeah, I say that because I'm here at Mass General, and the situation is, it changes even several times a day. So,
Right.
And since nobody knows where it's going, it just seems if we make a date certain, then we set ourselves up for failure the way that things are now, because there are so many unanswered questions. So would it be easier all around to just make a plan to revisit it in 30 days? I don't know what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah.
maybe we could make it 60, just in case.
So if I could offer just a little bit of information too. I know that the Wenham Board of Selectmen will be taking up the same matter tomorrow night at their meeting. I know that there's been suggested that we may want to continue to try to coordinate with them on what their date is.
Yeah.
When I talked to Anthony Ansaldi today, he asked me to relay to you that his board is considering talking about May 2nd, but not making a vote for May 2nd. So May 2nd would be, we're going to try to delay this 30 days, but we'll look at it again in 14 to 18 days and make a hard decision then. So, basically not taking a vote to do it May 2nd, but just saying, this is our goal. We'd like to have it done around May 2nd, but we understand that the situation is still fluid. The board can reconvene sometime within the next 30 days, see what the situation is, see if they feel comfortable making a call yet or wanting to wait a little further.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like that plan without sort of setting it in stone, just because we can't.
Right.
True. Too true. Bill, do you have anything to offer to the conversation?
Um,
Probably need to at least move up a little bit.
I just wanted to hear, I wanted to hear your opinion of what you thought was the right thing to do, and then also in terms of closing the warrant, the warrant still stays closed. We don't have to reopen the warrant, anything, right? We still keep it closed. We don't have to
Right.
worry about that aspect of the process, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, actually, just as I think I informed you both, you all by email today after conferring with your chairman and the chairman of the FinCom early this morning, it was kind of determined that if the board was going to have this vote to delay town meeting, then all the things that were originally on the agenda for the joint meeting should be delayed as well. And once you pick a date, we'll pick a date for having that joint meeting, and you'll finish all that other work that night.
Okay.
Bill, town moderator.
Bill
yes.
Bowler, town moderator. I don't have to make the decision, but I agree with the decision. I just a question about the election. Does that, so if the board, I guess the board now will have to vote tonight to postpone
And the
town
election-
meeting. Do they take a separate vote to postpone the election, or does that happen automatically, or?
Has the board taken a specific vote or not?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're waiting to do that.
Right.
What is your,
So, yeah, I think it probably makes sense to take a vote. If you've already taken a vote to establish what the town election date would be, for example, I think it probably makes sense to take a vote.
it's tied in the bylaw to the
Right,
town
no, yeah,
meeting
I'm
date,
familiar with the
so.
bylaw, right. So if there wasn't a specific vote that was taken, then, and it was just that the election by bylaw is the Tuesday following.
Thursday
I'm
following.
sorry, the Thursday following the Saturday town meeting, then if you take a vote to postpone the Saturday town meeting, then it just follows that the town election would also be postponed.
Delays my coronation.
Well, the good news is the sitting king gets to continue until the new king takes
true.
takes the throne, so.
Yes, you would remain in holdover status until your successor is elected and sworn.
Thanks, Bill. So, should we make it formal with a vote that we're considering May 2nd as a,
I'd say, if I could offer, and Tom will correct me if he thinks this is a stride, I think that the board should vote to postpone town meeting to a date not yet certain, but which will be determined at least 2 weeks prior by the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, I think we.
You want to make it 3
My
weeks?
thought was only to give a little bit more time,
time?
in like, because of the election
yep,
issues in
yep.
particular, so. One of the things that we've been working on in our office, in addition to the myriad of other issues that have arisen with respect to the current situation, is the, what happens with respect to municipal elections. So I know one of my colleagues was on a teleconference today and with a judge to postpone a municipal election, which is scheduled for tomorrow in light of the current situation. So we will be, I'm sure, coming out with some guidance with respect to some of the issues that arise with respect to municipal elections, including nomination papers and things of that are all obviously tied to the specific election date. So I think the more time you can give as far as advance notice with respect to, not only to allow people to plan for attending town meeting, but also to make sure that we have all the I's dotted and T's crossed with respect to the election issues would be better.
How long, a
I would
month?
say probably 30 days or
Okay,
so, I
so-
think, to the extent that we
So to
could do that.
postpone ATM to a date not yet certain, but will be chosen, but we'll choose a new date at least 30 days prior.
Sure, yeah, I think that's, and I guess I would view that, Joe, more as probably a guideline than anything else. I don't know that we want to necessarily tie ourselves to a specific date either, but I think at least for planning purposes and just to have, kind of an idea of where it's going, I think we would just want to make sure, to the extent possible, that we can provide folks with as much notice as possible prior to the actual annual town meeting date. So
And the
I think
election
at this point, and the election obviously tied to that, so I think at this point, I think the vote, what I think would be appropriate would be a vote to postpone the annual town meeting scheduled for April 4th. is the date, right?
Yep.
April 4th, 2020, and the corresponding town election scheduled for the following Thursday to a time to be determined by the Board of Selectmen. And just leave it at that. But I think at least for planning purposes, I think I would encourage the board to, when we do take this up again, to consider a date that's, in the 30 or so days ballpark from when you take it up.
Okay.
Great.
That sounds good.
Would anybody like to make the?
We could,
Go.
so Joe, just one more comment from
Yep.
Rosie. We
Yep.
could put this on the agenda, just sort of, updated in 2 weeks.
Yep.
We might have more information in 2 weeks, so we could just keep it a repeating
Agenda item until,
item
yep.
on our agenda.
I think that's good. I think I agree with Tom and kind of leave it open, and then, and to Rosie's point, we just kind of revisit it every 2 weeks because it seems ever changing. And, and hopefully we'll have 30 days notice and be able to post it and do all that we need to do to keep business running.
Okay.
Yeah,
I agree.
I like
Yep,
that.
I think the flexibility
Yeah, I like
works
that
well,
too.
so.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay, we need a,
Would somebody like to make a motion?
Okay, I'll try it. So please feel free to help me. So I make a motion that we postpone the April 4th, 2020 annual town meeting and the subsequent town elections for the Thursday following that until, I'm sorry, until we have some guidance from the state regarding the safety given the current public health emergency. Second?
All right. All those in favor? Bill, you want to start off with you?
William Olson, aye.
Sean?
Sean Farrell, aye.
Darcy?
Darcy Dale, aye.
Rosie?
Rosemary Kennedy, aye.
And Jeff Hubbard, aye. Excellent.
So Joe, this is Bill. Do you want to reach out to Train Technologies and put them off? Have you already done that?
well, I had a meeting with them, I had a conference call with them last week. I told them this was coming up and that it was likely to be postponed. They absolutely understood. They have other communities in their, in Massachusetts that they service, and they were aware of what was going on here. They were fully anticipating it. They said they'll work with us, asked me to give them at least 2 weeks' notice. I told them that by statute, we had to have at least two weeks' notice to post the warrant, so they would have at least that much time, and they said they'd continue to work with us, so.
Thank you, Joe.
No problem. Yep.
Perfect, yeah, that's good. So Bill, you'll be back from your surgery by then.
Yeah, you got me.
We hope.
Excellent.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much.
Your secret.
Does anybody have anything they'd like to add for topics for the next meeting? And we'll obviously keep in touch about when the next meeting will be and how we'll conduct it.
Technically, you're scheduled to have one next week. I'm going to ask or recommend. We've informed all other boards and commissions that during this time with the governor's emergency declaration, only essential meetings be held. So unless we look out and think that there's something that actually has to be done next Monday night, I'm going to recommend that you kind of model the behavior we want from other committees and postpone the meeting until we have agenda items that actually need your attention.
Agreed.
That sounds good. Yeah, it sounds good to me. That sounds good. Sounds safe.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Yeah, Bill, come on up. Hang on a second, guys. Bill Bowler just had a comment.
Thank you. Bill Bowler with my Meals on Wheels hat on. Just want to get the word out every way we can that Meals on Wheels program is still operating. And so anyone in Hamilton or Wenham who's over the age of 62 is eligible for it. You can contact the Hamilton or Wenham Council on Aging, and they'll get you hooked up for it. And you get a hot lunch, and there is some provision for frozen meals for dinner as well. So if you're over 62 or you know someone who's over 62, be sure they're aware of that.
Can I add something to that too? I know that in the last couple of days, in talking with my counterparts in other communities as well, I know there's been some concern among some Meals on Wheels drivers and folks about, entering somebody's house they don't know to deliver a meal, et cetera. Our Board of Health has volunteered to work with the meals drivers and the folks at the Accord Food Pantry to help them devise some, safer ways to be able to continue to offer this service in a way that is both safe for the drivers, but also safe for the people that we're trying to help. The people that we're largely serving at the Meals on Wheels program are in that demographic of people who are most at risk. So we want to make sure we develop some safe protocols, both for the drivers and for the people that they're delivering the meals to. So I know that those will be forthcoming if they haven't already been developed between the Council on Aging, Accord Food Pantry, and the Board of Health. They will be momentarily. So I know they're working on it, and we thank people for continuing to volunteer to help at this kind of trying time. So thanks.
Right.
Right, if I can add something, this is Sean, and the Accord has asked, in lieu of dropping by and donating stuff, to do online donation, and they'll buy the products for the people that need it.
Okay. All right, good to know. All right, well, Darcy, if you'd like to make that motion, your favorite motion.
Yes, I make a motion that we adjourn.
I second.
All right, start off with you, Bill.
Bill?
Slim Olson, aye.
Sean,
Sean Farrell, aye.
Darcy,
Darcy Dale, aye.
Rosie,
Rosemary Kennedy, aye.
Jeff Hubbard, aye. Thank you all for making time tonight for this meeting, and hopefully it'll help clarify things for people moving forward.
And I
Best
just
we
remind
can.
you that the copies of the IMAs that need all of your signatures and the water abatement will be in a signature folder left, they'll be available in my office. So please let us know when you're coming by. Town Hall office doors are closed, but you can let us know you're coming, and we'll make sure I'm here to open the door for you, let you sign the copies, and move it along. Thank you very much, everybody.
Great.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right, thank you.
Be safe, everybody.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
bye.
We'll booze another time.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill.
We'll get drinks afterwards the next time, all right?
Not if it, what's it?
No.
Afterwards,
Yes.
when